Before you start to work with sales quotations, you must make some quotation-related settings like number sequences, default values, and so on. In this lesson, I'll describe how these settings are handled. The following areas will need to be set up for sales quotations: number sequences, various setup tables, and the default values. Let's switch over to AX and I'll show you how to configure these parameters. All of these parameters are found in the Sales and Marketing module with the exception of the actual parameters. So we'll start in Accounts Receivable and then go to the Accounts Receivables parameter form found in the Setup area. Here you'll notice the Number Sequences link over on the left-hand side. If you click the Number Sequences tab, you'll see all the number sequences. In the list, you'll see that there are several number sequences that are specific to sales order quotations, such as the quotation journal, and the quotation confirmation. Each of these number sequences must be configured. I'll show you a sample of the sales quotation number sequence by right-clicking on the number sequence code and then selecting View Details. Here you can see this is just a 6-digit number. If you wanted, you could use a prefix such as SQ or just a Q or even a suffix on this number sequence to make it more easily identified as being a sales quotation. Next, we'll switch over to the Sales and Marketing module and I'll show you some of the setup tables that are available. Let's start with the quotation types. These are found underneath Setup and then Quotations. Here at the bottom, you can see the type form. Sales quotation types are used to determine the type of sales quotation. You might create different types that represent the reason why you're creating the quotation. So it could be a regular or a standing order. So I'll create one particular type called standing and give it a description. Another type might be something like new customer or new prospect. I'll create two, one for new prospect and one for new customer. Now that I've created some sales quotation types, we'll move on to groups. The groups are found in the same folder underneath Quotations and then Template Groups. Here you can create template groups that will be used when you generate quotation templates. Quotation templates might be used to group together like customers or like items. This could be, for example, a new promotion that you're running or some new products. If you have a customer that you work with and there's many customers that are part of a particular chain, you might create a group that represents that chain. I'll create a group here called New Product. There's no limit to the number of quotation template groups that you can create. Now that I've created a quotation template group, we'll create some document titles. These are found in the same quotations folder. Document titles are used as a way to send notes or add notes to your sales quotations. So, if this is an introduction, you might add a document title such as Dear Sir or Madam. Again, there's no limit to how many document titles you can create. Next, you can create document introductions and conclusions. Document introductions might be a message that you want to start out with for all new sales quotations. These act as like a letter that are included with the sales quotation. To create a new one, you'll click the new icon and give it a name. I'll create a general message that will be used for most sales quotations. In the document introduction, you can type a large message using character returns and write it as if you're writing a letter. Once you've created the document introductions, you can move on to the document conclusions. Document conclusions are used to wrap up your letter or note that you're writing to the customer. I'll click the new icon and create another one called General. Next, let's talk about how we can configure some default values that will be used on sales quotations. These are found back in the Accounts Receivable Parameters form. So we'll go back to Accounts Receivable and open the Accounts Receivable Parameters form. The settings are found on the General tab and then in the Sales Fast tab underneath the Sales Quotation field group. You'll notice there are 3 fields here. The first one is Days Campaigns Expire. When you're using a campaign with your sales quotation, this will populate the expiration date on your sales quotation 30 days from today's date. The days before follow-up will populate the follow-up date on your sales quotation. By setting this to 2, the follow-up date will be calculated as 2 days from the current date. You can also select the quotation type customer. In this drop-down box, you'll see a list of the types that you created. By selecting an option here, you're specifying that this quotation type will be used by default. Next, let's talk about the sales quotation process.